Hello, Tom.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, I'm fine, thanks,
Yeah,
sir.
it's been a busy day. We need to record this video for a long time, but you gave us time. I'm very glad that you came away. I came over here and just started recording the video.
No problem enough, no problem enough.
All right, so my audience wants to know about study visa.
Mm-hmm.
And first, we're going to start about difference between Chinese educational system and the Western educational system. What's the difference? Why should they choose Chinese educational system or why should they neglect Western educational system? What's the difference?
Okay, in order for us to answer that question, I think we might need to talk about something first about why do people study at all? Like in our reality life, we choose to study is because we're trying to locate a better job. And what's a better job? So the jobs are different in between the Western countries and China. So that makes the country make different decisions to involve their education systems. Like the Western countries, it's more like their society structure is already service structure. So the country will need more people with higher degrees in service industries like management. That's their daily lives. But in China, like the country is developing almost every minute, so they need more people to be qualified for building the country. So that's why they make different educational systems. So the Chinese educational system is providing more universities with more different majors on engineerings, on the kind of vocational degrees, more like this. So the Chinese education systems is more suitable for people who are looking for these kind of jobs in the future. So I think the Chinese education systems is much more better at this point of time for people to study with.
All right, so let's discuss our second question. What majors are available and what are the top universities in China that are more facilitating the international students?
Okay, so about the majors in Chinese universities, as you're experienced, most of the Chinese universities are really with almost every single major. So that's the Chinese education system. And the thing is because the Chinese government are ranking their universities only by the universities, but not by their majors. But in Western countries, it's different. For example, when you hear Harvard, everything comes up as about business, right?
Yeah,
When you hear
right.
Yale, okay, that's the basket of the US president, right?
Yeah.
But in China, it's different. Like most of the universities are with all different kind majors. So if you're planning to work in China or build up your career in China after study in China, you don't have to worry about exactly majors unless you have already got something in mind. Otherwise, just choose by the name of the universities. The Chinese education department has already designed many different kind of ranking system for Chinese universities. So once you are in a top ranked university, it doesn't matter what major you do, you will find a perfect job in the future.
So I'll share my experience with you. I've completed my graduation bachelor's in Shenyang Aerospace University. I've completed my mechanical engineering, but the university is for aerospace. But mechanical and aerospace is not that different. I was able to crack a job in an engineering field after completing my degree after just doing bachelor's. It all depends on your technical skills, but it also depends on the ranking of the universities. Can you name some good ranked universities in China?
Yeah.
Which you recommend?
Sure. Chinese education government department has already designed at least two type of ranking system, which one is called 985, the other one is called 211. And there are very good universities in the ranking of those two systems. And not only they recognize those universities to be better universities, but they are actually giving all the resources that they have towards to those universities. So after the graduation of in those universities, it doesn't matter what major it is, but we can talk about your major later. So with those kind of universities who are in those two ranking systems, you will be easily locating a job. Plus, you'll be getting a lot of different policies in the Chinese immigration system. For example, Northeast University, 东北大学, or Liaoning University, Liaoning 大学, they are in those systems. students are graduated from those two universities in Shenyang city itself, they be able to transfer their student visa directly into working visa without even have to go in through the Foreign Export Bureau, which is really saving a lot of time and work. And specifically about your major, okay, why is your major so popular, especially in this area of China? It's just because the whole country is developing every minute. We're building a bridge over there, we're building a road over there. So we do need a lot of talent people in these kind of industries. So that is why your major is so popular. Plus, especially in Liaoning province, there are over 400 foreign investment companies who are providing services to companies like BMW China. Yeah. They're all doing very well in this area. So they are also looking for big amount of new graduates to join their companies. So that is also a very good point for people to think if they want to study in China, they might want to concentrate on some majors like this.
Yeah, so after we've discussed about the university's majors, why should anyone choose to come to China despite the COVID restrictions and zero COVID policy?
Okay, everything about COVID is actually changing every minute, not only in China, actually anywhere in the world is experiencing the same situation at the moment, only just we're treating it in a different way. So coming to China, the policy is also changing all the time. For example, about 3 weeks ago, China has just launched the policy that they can take international students come back to study in China physically without doing online classes anymore. Yeah. Only just because they have also narrowed down the quarantine policies as well. It was like 14 to 21 days and now it becomes 7 days. So it's different. And the only reason that the Chinese government is doing that is because they want to make sure that people are studying in here, that they are not going to affect each other. For example, the Chinese universities normally host over 30,000 people in one university when they're all really close to each other. So the zero COVID policy is more kind of responsible for that 30,000 people. Yeah, but at the moment, that policy is going like better and better all the time. Like they have already taken international students coming back. So I think in the very near future, this policy will be very even in between China and the other countries.
So what do you think in which year? Do you have any certain ideas? Because students are getting crazy from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh asking when we are coming back to China, but most of them are coming back. Mm-hmm. But you have any idea when everything will be normal like before? I don't think it won't be normal anymore because of the COVID. But what do you have in plan? Like, what do you have in your mind?
I can't really predict the exact time, but we can actually look into the figures so that we know. In the past 6 months, we have already got 15% of the international students came back to China already, and that they are from Russian, they're from like Ukraine, they're from like other countries as well. South Korea as well, especially they start actually with South Korea. So I think they are actually testing. That's how the Chinese government works all the time. Yeah. When they want to try, when we want to do something, they actually pick up a group of people to give it a try. If it works pretty well, it'll work pretty well.
All right, so let's discuss about scholarships for bachelor's, master's, and PhD studies. What are the eligibilities, criteria, and other options available?
Okay, so I want to just correct something first. Like a lot of people are thinking that the Chinese government is offering the scholarships to different type of students, but no, it's actually the same. So don't worry about that first. It doesn't matter what kind of graduates you are from the high school. You can always apply for a scholarship. Okay. It can be CSE scholarships, it can be like university scholarships, it can be all different scholarships, but you can always apply. Okay, so the difference is the candidates is always more than the offers. So there is the point that makes the difference. For example, there are 2 ways to apply for a Chinese scholarship, especially CSE scholarships. Mm-hmm. Number 1 is through the university directly. Number 2 is through the embassy in another country, the Chinese embassy in another country, through their education department, their education officer. So the difference is if every candidate is on the same level, if their GPAs is all very similar to each other, the agencies can make some difference. So that's why a lot of agencies are working to have a very good relationship with the universities and even with the professional educational department.
Like yours?
Yeah, like mine.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So that is the point. But if you are on a very good level, like even a better level than the other students, don't even have to think about an agency. Just go and apply, you will have it. For example, if someone's GPA is around 3.6, 3.7, and if my candidate's all around 3.5, 3.4, you will have one. You don't have to come through me.
So it means like even if the students have a low GPA around 3, 3.5, or even let's say 2.8, so if they're going through your agency, they will get a scholarship. They can crack a scholarship easily.
They can.
Okay, so one more question about scholarship, like stipend. People do ask like, what are the benefits of scholarship? What are they getting? Monthly payments, like free dormitory and all that stuff. Can you explain that?
Sure. The most of the scholarships in China covers majorly four things. Number one is the tuition fee.
Okay.
Most of the universities gives 100% scholarships, which means there's no tuition fee, all for free. Number two is the insurance. As you know, like all international students are required to take an insurance policy, and that's free. That's paid by the government as well. And number three is the dormitory. Of course, the dormitory is free. And by the way, the dormitory in Chinese universities for international students are always pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then the last one, for the bachelors, they usually get about 2,500 RMB every month for living allowance. And for the master's degree, it's about 3,000. For the PhD, it's about 3,500. And in most of the cities, because there's not much expenses anymore for students to really spend, so those money will definitely cover the cost of the living in China while they're studying.
All right, so we can discuss a bit more about monthly expense of an international student, like how much, for example, if he is getting stipend from a particular universities. Let's take bachelor's, because bachelor's stipend is the lowest, 2,500, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So in order to live a good life in China while you're studying and all that stuff, covering all your expenses, so is it enough?
It's definitely enough. Let me give you an example. The average individual income of Shenyang city is 7,200, but most of the people is on a 3,500 based salary. So you're only 1,000 down from a full-time employee.
Oh.
Besides, you don't have to pay for any accommodations or anything. And then the food supplying system in every single university, because they have the allowance from the government as well, they are really cheap. They're about half price of the restaurants outside of the universities. So most of my students, they realize that they can actually have something saved after the month.
All right. Some kids would crack a scholarship, some might won't. So there comes a question like jobs for international students. What kind of... I've heard that Chinese law have passed like international students can do jobs, but part-time jobs, but it's not implemented anyway. I haven't seen it. So what you have to say about that?
That's about how the local government is treating the law becomes the policy. You know, a law is launched by the government. When it comes to the university, it becomes a policy. And the policy can really be one different in between different universities. Okay, for example, it's not new. Work in China part-timely as an international student, as a university students, you could do that ever since 2011. That was the first year they launched the law that allow international students to work part-timely in the university. But it's already 2022 now. So most of the universities didn't really take this very serious. It's because the Chinese government is asking the university to provide part-time jobs related to the major that the students are studying. That's actually very difficult. That's the difference in between the Chinese education system and the Western. You know, when I would study in the UK, they didn't care what I was doing. They just said, okay, you're allowed to work 20 hours during the school term, 40 hours during the school holiday term. So that's how it works. But in China, because they're concentrating more on the educational part, so they want this part-time job to be some kind of practice for their study. So that's why they want the part-time job to be related to their majors. But last year, well, not really last year, actually 2022, just a few months ago, they relaunched that law again. They inform all the universities that you are now not allowed, but you're actually trying to do your best to have some part-time jobs for your international students. So according to my research, in the last few months, quite a few universities has already started launching those kind of part-time jobs in the universities. And of course, it's easy for them to start managing.
Yeah, and other things, if you want to start a part-time job, you can start a side hustle, like for example, doing freelancing, selling things. You can give them contacts of manufacturers, like for example, if their country needs something, they can export it from China to their country. They can also do that kind of a job, right?
Yeah, well, you better do that kind of job. It's because those jobs can easily matching the Chinese requirement. For example, if you're doing anything in campus related to your majors, it'll be encouraged by the university and the department. So basically, anything online will be easily matching that. So I think like people can really now decide what kind of majors to study in China. Anything related to the online business is becoming very popular in China, as you experienced in the last few years. The whole Chinese economy systems has already gone towards to the online system. Like everybody's staying at home, buying things online. So basically, if you study any kind of majors related to those business in the future, it's not only going to help you to locate a better job, to have a working visa, it's actually always going to help you while you're studying. Those 4 years, you're quite good income as well.
Yeah. All right, I've completed my graduation. I'm done with all that thing. But now I have to work in China. I want to work in China. Seeing the living standard over here, everything is wonderful. There's a lot of facilities available for students as well as the people over here. So how can I apply for work visa after graduation or even a PR? So I've heard that we can talk about work visa in more detail in upcoming video. You can just give us some few hints, and you can also talk about PR, like give a little bit of hints, like what a student should expect if he's completed the graduation over here.
Okay,
All right, let's start.
Okay, in order to get a work visa in China, okay, so I want to be clear first. Any visa application is not like independent about a visa application. Let's use work visa as an example. A working visa in China is basically about what kind of documents you have already organized. For example, when we're applying for the student visa, we need a JW202 form, we need an enrollment letter. It's the same thing. To apply for a working visa, you're going to need a work permit from the Foreign Export Bureau, which belongs to the Labor Department. And when they offer you the work permit, the Chinese immigration system will give you the visa. So that's how it works. But in order to apply for the work permit, that's the major part. Okay. So the Labor Department of China is only giving work permit to one foreign staff employee to one Chinese business in one location, which we call 111. Okay, one matching each other. So basically, you need to be qualified as the candidate, as the individual, and your company or your job offer is coming from a qualified organization or enterprise. And then that position, that specific position given to you, it's supposed to be related to the major and your working experiences. So now we know that there are a few major things that we need to concentrate on while you're applying for your work permit. So always keeping this in mind, when you have your work permit, you have your work visa. No matter where to apply, you will have your work visa, okay? So for that, you need to be qualified. As an individual, the requirement is bachelor's or higher. But is there any exception for that? Yeah, there is. Okay, so if you are paying the tax based on 4 times of the average income of the city, you also will have the same type of work permit. Okay, so that's okay. There's always a way if you want to work for someone. You just need to provide different kind of documents. That's for the individuals. And for the business, they have to be licensed and permitted to do the business, and they have to have a certain location to run their business. Okay, we might know that everybody now is sometimes doing business at home, like in a Soho or something, but not according to the Chinese department. They need you to have a specific location, offices, factories to run your business. So that's for the company requirement. And then you also need to have some kind of experiences and qualifications to work in that position. So for all these 4 together, your education qualification, the license and the permit of the business, plus your experiences, once you have these 3 major documents to provide to the Foreign Export Bureau, you will have your work permit.
All right, so we'll discuss about our next topic would be about work visa after graduation, or work visa if you want to work in China. We'll discuss that in another video, upcoming video.
No problem.
And one more thing I have to ask, like, how to apply. If somebody wants to contact your agency, if they want to study over here, apply for scholarships and all that stuff, study visa and all that things. So how can they contact you?
Oh, just contact the channel host. Like we're really good relationships. Like,
all right,
yeah.
so it means like they can DM me on
yeah,
Instagram.
Of course they can. Yeah.
All right,
anytime.
you can DM me, and if you guys have any other questions, you can comment on the link below, or you can go to my Instagram and DM me over there. I'll answer all your queries over there, so it won't be any problem. So that was for today. Thank you for giving us the time, sharing information, and I hope I could see you in upcoming videos. And one more thing, we can go and visit some universities as well to show the audience like what kind of environment are there, the dormitories, the cafeteria, the universities, the teachers, even the staff, because some of the students from Pakistan, Bangladesh and India, some eat halal, some eat meat, some are vegetarians. So we could just show them how the atmosphere is over there. It would be a good option for kids.
Oh, we will. I have already organized a few universities that's ready for us to visit.
All right.
Right after this holiday.
All right, after the holidays. So upcoming videos, we'll show you the universities, tour of some good universities. We'll let you meet the students over there, even the country representative. Okay, thank you for giving me the time. Let's finish our video.
You're very welcome.
All right, thank you.